Hey, hi guys, again welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in the last video we have seen we just started about the SQL constraint. In that we see about not null, uh, check, default and unique. Okay, now in today's video we will see about primary key and foreign key. Okay, so we will firstly try to understand what is a primary key and foreign key in SQL in a table, in any tabular data set, and how to add that constraint in query or in a SQL, or if you already created the table, then how you can add that primary and foreign key constraint. Okay, so let's go to SQL Server.
Okay, not SQL Server, MS Excel. Okay. Firstly, we will try to understand what is what is primary key and foreign key, and then we will see how to create that, like how to add that constraint in our real uh, SQL Server. Okay. So first, let's consider this data set. I have this data set. Let's consider this data set is of any uh, any delivery app. Okay, suppose this data set is of Swiggy and they have some users. Their details are there. Okay, now suppose we have one problem statement. There are lots of users of Swiggy are there. Okay, around we can see there are around 8 users. Okay, now how you can uniquely identify these users? Okay, how you can uniquely identify this? Yeah, so we can't identify uniquely by their names, right? Because there are plenty of uh, users are there and different names. You can see that there is duplicate, right? Aman, okay. There is some users with the same name. Okay, we can say that, like, okay, if you can't identify by name, then can you identify by phone number? That also you can't do, right? How you can remember the phone numbers of your user, right? Again, there is a possibility, like suppose now there is one user, you can see. I have one user, Ankit. Okay. Now this entry, right? This particular user is again get added, right? Why now new entry is added? It's just because he has some different email ID. Okay. So this kind of thing is also there. So how like how you identify every single user or every row of the user table, like these are the users, right? So we will consider this as a users table. So how you identify that? So the reason, right? Then what we will do, we give a separate id to every single row. Okay, let's what we do, we give id to every user. So what I'm doing, I'm just inserting one row here that is ID. Okay. So this ID will be, this will identify the user, uniquely identify the user. Okay. So this will be my first user. Okay. First user. Then this is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Right. Okay. Fine. This is how you can identify the users. Right. I can say that. Let's suppose there is new user added. Okay, and but I don't uh, want to give any any name here, right? I don't want to give ID, right? I don't know the ID of the person, and it is a null, right? Is that possible, right? So you can't identify any user by using by using the null keyword, right? The first thing here you can see that I must want to give a unique number to every user. And the second thing is what? It should not be a null. Okay, it should not be a null ID. Okay, and that thing, so that column basically is called as the primary key. So here my definition comes of the primary key. That what the primary key suggests, that primary key is the uniquely identified and not null column. Okay, which will not allow any null values, and also it will give every unique key to every single row. Okay, so that is a primary key. Okay, so this is the we understood the primary key. Okay, now what is the foreign key then? Okay, so foreign key means what? Let's now we firstly try to understand the database, right? Relational database. Now, why database needed? And if suppose this is the table, we have the table users table. You can see that the table have the very much information that user's email has been given, nationality given, its address is also given. But what suppose uh, this user have the multiple emails? Okay, then what you do? Then what we'll do? We will suppose add that multiple columns, right? We just want to extend our data, our table. Okay, we will say again email email 2 of that person, email 3 of that person. Okay. But what if he also has the multiple addresses? And this is also possible, right? User can have multiple address. Then what you can do? Shall we again add the address here? That that can be bit messy, right? Because your data will become messy. Okay, you always have to again scroll and see what user's address and all, right? So to avoid that, what we are doing, we are trying to connect the this whole data with different tables. We are not just taking all the data in one table, just for our simplicity, and also not only simplicity, but uh, it will manage things very easy, right? So that's the reason what we are doing. Now let's suppose these are the emails, right? And I don't want to store this in one table only, right? What I will do, I will create a different table for emails. Okay, different tables for emails. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so the uh, I'm giving the sheet name as user email. Okay, so let's consider this is the different table. Okay, and these which have this much emails. Okay, these all emails. Okay, so now, okay, so again, now how you can identify, right? Like which email is of which user, right? So in this case, then foreign key comes in picture. Like if I want to identify like which email is of which user, then I must want to give I must want to mention the ID of that users, right? So here you must have to give user ID. Okay, and then we'll give this user ID of this user's table. Okay, then you can easily identify that yes, this email is of this much this user. Okay, now let's suppose what happened. This Aman, right? This guy Aman has one more email ID. Okay, one more email ID, which is let's we are adding one entry. Aman. Okay, okay. So then what will be the user ID of this guy? Definitely. one only, right? Because the Aman has user ID one. Okay, in this table you can see that he has ID one. So here you can see you can add the ID as a one. Okay. Now what is my definition? What is my definition of the primary key? That the primary key always allow a unique and not null values. But here you can see that the user ID is not unique, right? Because the one is get again repeated here. But this is not the primary key. Okay, this is this is called as the foreign key. Okay, and the rules which are applied to primary key, it does not does not require that it should also allow to for the foreign key, right? So foreign key can have the duplicates, and also suppose let's take one more example. Suppose some guys added one more email ID, and there is suppose it can be possible in a data set like, okay, we got one email ID, but we don't know the user. Okay, we don't know the user ID. So suppose there is one person get like some email detail is added to email table, but we don't know his username, user ID. Okay, so in that case, what we will say, it's a null, right? Because we don't know the user ID, right? So this thing can be possible. Okay, so this is also we can add in our uh, different table like foreign key. uh, Foreign key should be can be null. Okay, it can be unique, not sorry, duplicate, and it can be unique also. Sorry, my bad. It can be duplicate and it can take the null values also. Okay, so yeah, okay. Now this is just a prime. Like we can say that this is a different table. Okay. Now why it is called as the foreign key, right? Foreign key because this refers to the primary key of a different table. Different table means what? Let's give this that as a foreign, like foreign table. Okay, which identify the primary key of the foreign table. Hence why? Hence this particular key is called as the foreign key. Okay, hence this is the foreign key of that table, right? Or this table also we can say the foreign key of this table. Okay. Now if I have the email, so I also want to identify this email uniquely, right? Now these all emails I have, I want to identify them uniquely. So how can I identify it? So same as as we did in users table, we also want to assign the primary key to this particular table. Okay, so let's suppose ID. So we will just give a unique ID to every email. Okay, I know that this Aman has two emails, right? And that we are already mentioned with user ID. We can already identify with the foreign key. But I need to mention that. But I will not give ID same here because that are the different emails, right? I am giving ID to uniquely identify this particular emails. Okay. Okay. So here are the uniquely identify primary key for this particular email table. Okay. Fine. Now, yeah, I hope you understood about the primary key and foreign key. Okay, there can be a multiple tables like as I shown you, like there is a users table, sorry, email table, user table and emails table. Users addresses we can also create address table separately. Okay, user addresses, and there you can store the different addresses of the users, right? We will just give again foreign key for that because I need to mention the user ID of that. User ID of the every addresses. Okay, so that you can do. Okay, okay. Let's take some addresses. Suppose these are the addresses of the person. Okay, we have the user address table. Okay. And one, here are their addresses. Okay. Now again, you have to mention their IDs. Okay. Now let's suppose this guy has a different address. Okay. Suppose he also have one home uh in Gurgaon. Okay. And then Saraswati Vihar, Gurugram. Okay, the second, right? So he also has one home in Gurgaon. And you can again give, now this is my user ID column. Okay. So from this column we can identify that which address is of which user, and we will give uh, unique numbers to every single address, right? So that is my ID column again. Okay. So yeah, this is the address table. Okay. Okay. So we have the three tables. Okay. Now let's try to create the schema, right? Schema of this database. Okay. So this is our full data. Okay, and we will just convert it into small tables so that it will get easy to understand. Okay. What is our data name? It's Swiggy data set, right? Swiggy users, right? And now what we are doing, we will create schema of that. Now you can see that we have three tables: user address, users, and user schema. Okay. Now let's consider that user table have just these things. Okay, this column has this have ID, name, phone number, and favorite color. Okay. So here is my users table. Okay. And it has some columns that ID, user ID, his phone number, and his color, favorite color. Okay. So so then now you know the data type of every single column, right? The user ID table have the integer data type, phone number have big int, right? And favorite color have the varchar data types. Okay, that we will not mention here. Just mention the key, right? What key will be there for this column? Now my ID column. So what it is? So it is the primary key, right? So ID column is the primary key of the this user table. Okay. Okay. Now as you see that we have address, right? This is users table. We also define one more table, that is users address. Okay. And in that we have seen that there is column called ID. Then you can see that it had email email IDs in that particular table. And then we have seen that there are user ID. Now, what this user ID? So, user ID is what? It is the foreign key, right? It is refer from the primary key of the another column, right? This user ID basically this ID. Okay. Hence, this will be my foreign key. Okay. This is a primary. This is the primary key of this table. Okay. So this is one more table, and we have one more table that is sorry. This is an email. Okay. This is email, right? So similarly, we have one more table which is called as the user's address. Okay, where you have also given the unique key to every single emails. So sorry, addresses. We have their addresses and user ID as a foreign key. Okay, so this table is your main table. Okay, from that you can easily identify and usually you can join these three tables. Okay, how we will see about the joins in the next videos. How to join different tables, right? So yeah, we will do. I'm using Excel for a long time. So let's connect this table. Okay, how to connect? Okay, now this ID, user ID, we can connect this two table by using this, right? The ID of the users table and the user ID of the users table. Okay. Similarly, this particular table is getting connected with the addresses with with this ID. This ID will also get you can connect these two tables, right, with ID and okay and this particular user ID. Okay. Okay. So how we can connect these two tables now, right? So that simply we have the ID, right? We have the user ID also and we have the email, right? So you can connect that with this user ID, right? Email.user ID equals to addresses.email address. Okay. So this is how the schema, you can draw the schema of every single databases. Okay. So that's all about the primary, and that is just understanding about the primary and foreign of the tables of the data set of the different data set, right? Now let's see how to create the constraint in your SQ- actual SQL server. Okay.
Hey, and that we'll see in our next video, because what happened that I recorded the SQL part in the different like a different Zoom meeting, but the audio does not get recorded, and there was some issue while in recording the audio. Hence, I need to record it again. Okay, so hence we will see that in our next video, like how to create all the constraint in SQL Server, how to create that schema in SQL Server. Okay, yeah, please stay tuned. We will try. I will upload that video also very soon. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you guys.